Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk about the ways in which Halo Combat Evolved will inspire Halo Infinite. Now, it's an objective fact at this point that Combat Evolved is 343's biggest inspiration for Halo Infinite, so today I figured it'd be interesting to talk about the elements of Halo 1 that will mould and shape what is effectively going to be Halo 12. So to do this, I've come up with a plan. To simply analyse all of the things that Halo CE did right and talk about how Halo Infinite could repurpose those things would quite honestly take hours. So to make sure this video is more concise and it's not a 3-hour long video with 50 mid-roll adverts, I've referred back to 343's 3 core design pillars for Halo Infinite: mystery, hope, and nostalgia. And what I've done is essentially choose a few elements from Combat Evolved that fit each pillar best, and I'm going to talk about the ways in which these elements can be adapted for Infinite's campaign and story. Alrighty, so let's start off with mystery, which for a multitude of reasons is something that Combat Evolved does far better than any other Halo. The beauty of how CE portrays mystery is that it isn't just created through narrative and dialogue, but through level design too. There are areas in a few levels that you can legitimately get lost in. Halo, the hallways of the Truth and Reconciliation, the stairways and various rooms of the Silent Cartographer, the surrounding swamp and the insides of the flood containment facility in 343 Guilty Spark, just to name a few. They create this sense of the structures being created by some mysterious species, logically very different to humans that don't think or behave like us. This more open and non-linear level design is something that I imagine we'll be seeing a lot more of in Infinite. One of the biggest complaints about Halo 5's campaign in particular was how every mission just felt like a linear shooting gallery, deprived of player freedom and exploration. So when you combine that with how much inspiration Infinite is taking from Combat Evolved, and also the sort of tease of the more open environments in the trailer, I think it's safe to say that this level design philosophy will be returning in some shape or form. But what about specific missions? Well, when discussing mystery, there are 4 missions in particular that did it perfectly. The first being Halo. Now, for reasons that we've already discussed, the open level design that encourages exploration is something that I really hope finds its way into Halo Infinite, but this level does far more than just that. As 343 have already shown great interest in, the beam towers encourage this exploration because seeing their beams soaring into the sky over a hill or over a mountain lets you know that there's more to be discovered beyond it. And when it comes to exploration, this mission has one of the greatest vectors of that: the Foreigner'structures. Whether you're climbing towers to rendezvous with Marines, delving into unnaturally formed caves and messing around with Foreigner tech, or descending into underground facilities, there's always this sense of mystery and obscurity about the structures. Whatever created them was here before you. What happened to them? Where did they go? This sentiment could be so easily replicated on Zeta Halo with ancient human caves, with walls covered in cave paintings, crudely illustrating what the Foreigners and the Primordial did to them on the ring. For those who watch Game of Thrones, remember that scene in Season 7 where Jon and Daenerys see those cave paintings done by the Children of the Forest, illustrating them using the dragon glass against the White Walkers? Well, imagine one similar to that, but with Chief finding paintings done by ancient humans depicting their torture by the Foreigners and by the Gravemind. Halo also uses something that seems to have been mostly forgotten post-Combat Evolved: darkness. Areas in the caves literally require you to use your Warthog's headlights or your flashlight to see into the unknown. Not only does this darkness emphasize mystery, but it's also a great atmosphere builder that I really hope comes back, along with, of course, the flashlight in Halo Infinite. Truth and Reconciliation also does mystery really well. It utilizes the same sort of ideas that Halo did for Foreigner stuff, but this time it uses it for the Covenant stuff. Being sucked up into the ship from a gravity lift that seemingly lifts each Marine up randomly, and landing into a weirdly empty, dark hangar bay felt really mysterious. You had no idea what was happening or what was going on. Then, navigating the corridors and messing with the ship's controls, all incredibly alien and unfamiliar like the Foreigner stuff was, but in a different way sort of, really made you realise how little knowledge the team had of the interior workings of this ship. I'd love it if Infinite could reuse this concept of another alien but differently so environment with ancient human stuff. I mean, they were prehistoric, so maybe when we descend into their caves, which is what I assume this thing was in the trailer, we have to toy with a series of ancient crude door mechanisms, or something like that to get to our destination. Where Truth and Reconciliation was a more linear exploration experience, the Silent Cartographer was the opposite. I truly don't think that any mission in the Halo franchise encapsulates the idea of mystery better than the Silent Cartographer. There's no waypoint, no direction you're ordered to go in, you're just given a warthog, a surplus of marines, and an entire goddamn island to explore, located in the middle of what seems like an infinite ocean, with no time limit or specific objectives other than find the map room. The level design of this mission is honestly a masterpiece. There's really no other way to describe it. After exploring the beach, you head inland, where you eventually reach Foreigner structures that you can descend into. Structures that are so vast, they make the island almost feel like a TARDIS, in that it's bigger on the inside than the outside. The vastness of the underground structures, which is something that 343 said they're taking inspiration from for Infinite, really makes everything seem so much bigger than you. It's kind of like looking up into the sky at night and looking at all the stars and just realizing how small you actually are. Quite honestly, for Infinite, I would love it if there was a mission that was directly inspired by this one. Designed sort of in the same vein, where you're on an island, free to explore for as long as you want. An island that, like the Silent Cartographer, is much bigger than it first looks, and is full of secrets hidden beneath the surface. And finally, I want to touch on a mission that does mystery in a far darker, creepier way. One that I sincerely hope Halo Infinite takes inspiration from. 343 Guilty Spark. The entire atmosphere of this mission does an amazing job at making you feel genuinely lost and alone. You're dropped off into a dark, foggy swamp, alone, and one of the first things you see are the Covenant running away from something that you know isn't human. As you push through the swamp, you can see these weird, mysterious creatures just peeking through the fog, and when you get to the facility, the Covenant are again running from something, but when you enter it, there's nothing there. The descent into the facility continues to bolster this idea of mystery, dark mystery. Aside from the Covenant, everything is so quiet. Too quiet. The atmosphere feels almost dead, which only feels more fitting when you start to find the scattered dead bodies, with some cases of Marines and Covenant having died side by side, as if they were almost fighting a common foe. This mystery almost turns into confusion when you find that crazy Marine. Why the hell is he shooting Chief? I mean, only a few missions ago, he was over the moon to see him. What caused this? This, of course, all leads to the Flood reveal, which was done absolutely perfectly. This lead-up was so mysterious, it left you confused, and the eventual reveal was so gratifying. And then on top of this narrative-created mystery, the level design does it too. The facility is like a maze, made up of claustrophobic corridors and similar-looking rooms that make it so easy to get lost in. I mean, it's 2018, I've been playing this game now for almost 17 years, and I still get lost in this facility. This is another case of clever level design matching the narrative, and again, like the Silent Cartographer, this is something that I really hope is replicated in some way in Infinite. If the Flood do end up being in Infinite, then please 343 just take so many notes from this mission, because the entire build-up, the reveal, and then after the reveal is just done so well. Okay, so when it comes to hope, I'm not going to talk for that long, because after the first few missions of Combat Evolved, there really isn't much hope in this game. That said though, Halo manages to get across this idea pretty damn well. Despite the dire circumstances, the Marines clearly show morale when they first see Chief, when they're fighting aliens, and when they're rescued. They never seem depressed or demoralized, which, realistically, given all the circumstances, they really should be. Seeing the lifeboats come crashing down onto the ring, again, should be a really demoralizing moment, but it's not. Everyone is happy to see that there's more survivors to be saved. These practices also carry over to Truth and Reconciliation as well. Again, the situation is fucking dire. Your captain has been captured and stored on board an enemy ship, but the Marines being sent in to rescue him are chirpy and enthusiastic. This feeds into the end of the mission as well, really well, when despite all of the odds, you manage to save your captain and then make an epic escape on enemy turf, really showing the enemy who's boss. I really hope that Infinite uses these ideas and is generally more enthusiastic and happy overall, compared to recent games' more negative and depressing general atmospheres. I mean, 343 are clearly aware of this though, and I expect that we will see more of this. The perfect vector though, of course, for this enthusiasm and happiness are Marines, which seem to have taken more of a backseat in recent games, but again, given the trailer, I'm pretty sure that that won't be the case in Infinite. Alright, so moving over to nostalgia, I'm going to treat this one differently because nostalgia is a far more personal and subjective emotion compared to mystery and hope. Like, everybody feels nostalgic for different things. For example, I'm really nostalgic for Halo 3, World at War, and the DayZ mod, whereas other people are equally as nostalgic for Fortnite Season 1. At the end of the day, all emotions are subjective, but I'd argue that rescuing your captain from imprisonment on an enemy ship is objectively more hopeful than watching him being consumed by a parasite. Clearly, that isn't the case with nostalgia, so for this section, I'm going to suggest some elements of Combat Evolved that Infinite could repurpose that I personally think are almost universally nostalgic. So, by the looks of it, a plot point that Combat Evolved and Infinite are looking like they're going to share is the allies being stranded on a Halo ring. Now, one of the most iconic scenes in Combat Evolved was escaping the Autumn just in time and then watching from the lifeboat as its loyal captain went down with the ship on the ring. And I have a feeling that we're going to see something quite similar to this in Infinite, but with the Infinity. The Infinity to me is kind of a problem in Halo right now. It's too powerful in its own right, and it feels like humanity can never truly be on the back foot with a ship that can just plow straight through a Covenant carrier. Halo 5's ending was the first time that Infinity felt like it was on the back foot, however, and I have a feeling that sentiment is going to carry over into Infinite and lead to a Pillar of Autumn style crash on Zeta Halo, leaving Chief, Lasky, and its crew stranded on the ring. I'm a big fan of Lasky. I think that he's a really underappreciated character, and seeing him refuse to leave his Infinity as it went down in flames would be some great character development, especially if he survived the crash like Keyes did and went on to play a big role as Chief's almost commanding officer during their time on the Halo. It'd also make for a fucking great opening mission, and hell, maybe even a reason for Chief to use his new armor. Maybe his Mark 6 mod gets damaged in the crash, so he has to use some prototype Gen 3 that they had on board that survived. Arguably the second most nostalgic thing from Combat Evolved was the reveal of the Flood. Now, we've already discussed how 343 Guilty Spark did mystery so damn well, but the entire lead up to and also reveal of the Flood was just masterfully crafted. Given how likely I personally think that it is that we're going to see the Flood in some capacity in Infinite, 343 need to take some major influence from this iconic mission. That said though, don't make it obvious. Like, I don't want to start the mission up with no idea that the Flood are even in the game and be like, oh, okay, so I'm guessing the Flood are going to get revealed in this mission. Like, Guilty Spark did such a good job at keeping the reveal a complete mystery right until it happened, and I'd love for that to be the case in Infinite too, if the Flood are going to be in it, of course. And lastly, a personal request of mine, given the emphasis on CE inspiration, please, somewhere in the campaign, for the love of everything holy, let Chief find a classic Halo Combat Evolved Magnum. Like, just put the weapon in the campaign somewhere, and maybe hide it and have it as a secret cutscene that triggers if you find it, where Chief picks up the Magnum, pulls the slide back, and says something like, "Just like old times," or something maybe a little less corny. Not only would finding it, getting a secret mini cutscene, and then being able to use it against the Covenant be an awesome Easter egg, but it'd also be just such a great homage to the game that clearly laid the groundwork for Infinite. Alrighty, so that's it. That's how I think that Halo Infinite will and should learn from Combat Evolved. If you enjoyed and agreed with any of my nostalgia-filled points, then don't forget to show your support down below with the likes, the comments, and by hitting that subscribe button if you haven't done already. Personally, I couldn't have picked a more perfect Halo for 343 to take so much inspiration from, so the fact that it's playing such a major role in inspiring Infinite's development makes me beyond happy. Big thank you to MrDrProfJNorris and everybody else for the support over on Patreon, and thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one.